Hey friends, welcome back to Eden's Corner. Today we're going to look at a powerful little story that's tucked away in the book of Jeremiah chapter 35. It's about a family you may or may not have heard of called the Rechabites. And their example of obedience and faithfulness to God stands out like a light in the middle of a dark and disobedient world. And I really believe that it's a story for today, a story that we really need right now, because just like them, God is calling us, you and me, to stand firm and walk in obedience, even when the world around us doesn't. Now, let's set the stage for a minute here. Jeremiah was a prophet during a time when God's people, the people of Judah, turned their backs on him. They worshiped other idols, they ignored the voice of God, and even refused to listen to his correction. And in the middle of all of their rebellion, God gave Jeremiah a very strange assignment. He told Jeremiah to bring the Rechabite family into the temple and offer them wine to drink. Now, that might seem really simple, but there's a lot going on here. The Rechabite family weren't just any family. They were descendants of a man named Jehonadab, who was the son of Rechab. And he had given this family very specific commands many generations earlier. They were told to live in tents, to not drink wine, not to build houses, and not to plant fields. And they followed those commands for hundreds of years as a sign of obedience and devotion to God. So when Jeremiah takes them to the temple and offers them wine, they politely refuse. They said, "No, we don't drink wine because our ancestor Jehonadab, son of Rechab, gave us this command. You and your descendants must never drink wine." And really, that might seem like something small, but if you think about it, they're standing inside the temple of God with a prophet who's offering them something that would have been easy to justify. I mean, prophets were highly esteemed. So they could have said, well, this is Jeremiah after all. Surely it's going to be fine just this once. But they didn't do that. Their obedience wasn't based on convenience, it was based on conviction. And that's what makes this story so powerful. God was using their faithfulness as a living illustration, like a contrast between the obedience of one family and the disobedience of an entire nation. Now, after the Rechabites refused the wine, God spoke to Jeremiah again, and he said, "Go and say to the people in Judah and Jerusalem, 'Come and learn a lesson about how to obey me. The Rechabites do not drink wine to this day because their ancestor Jehonadab told them not to. But I have spoken to you again and again, and you refuse to obey me.'" The Rechabites obeyed a human ancestor's instructions faithfully for generations, walking in a way that pleased God. And yet God's own people couldn't obey his commands, even when he spoke to them directly about it. But then comes the promise. God tells Jeremiah that because of the Rechabites' faithfulness, Jehonadab, son of Rechab, will always have descendants who serve me. What a reward, right? God truly honors obedience, even if it looks small, and even if no one sees it. So, what does this even mean for us today? You know, the story of the Rechabites really reminds us that faithfulness matters, obedience still matters, even when it feels old fashioned, even when others don't understand. You have to remember that we live in a world that often celebrates compromise, telling us to bend a little bit here or soften the truth there. But God calls his people to something higher. To be steadfast, to stand firm in his word, and to say no when the world says, how about just this once? Faithfulness in the small things really builds a life of lasting obedience. And God sees it all. He remembers those who remain true to him. Maybe for you, that area of obedience looks like honoring a commitment that God placed on your heart. Or maybe it's holding on to purity when this culture mocks it. Or maybe it's staying faithful in prayer even when you don't see the results yet. Whatever it is, your obedience matters. Just like the Rechabites, God will use your steadfastness as a testimony to others, as a living example of faith that shines in a world that's forgotten how to listen. So let's be encouraged by their story. Let's be the kind of believers who live out quiet, consistent faithfulness. Not for recognition, not for reward, but simply because we love and honor the one who first loved us. So, my dear brothers and sisters, be strong and immovable. Always work enthusiastically for the Lord, for you know that nothing you do for the Lord is ever useless. That's 1 Corinthians 15:58. Thank you so much for spending this time in the Word with me today. If this encouraged you, I'd love for you to share it with a friend or leave a comment below. I always enjoy hearing how God's Word is speaking to you. Until next time, stay rooted in God and faithful in heart. Bye.